Yes, you are. You are locked in. You are loaded and you are ready for launch on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB, coming out of the powerhouse right here in Flora, Mississippi. Today is Tuesday, the 19th of August, 2025. And if you want to be a part of the program today, you can. The number is 601 879 0002. If you want to go ahead and use that text line, lots of interesting texts coming in over the last 24 hours, got to say. That number is 601 879 5060. We're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on that social media platform that begins with a F, but we don't say the name because they censor the heck out of everybody. And of course, we are streaming at the mothership, WYAB.com. If you wouldn't mind, please give me a follow on X. The number or the name there is just Andrew Gosser at AndrewGasser. That would be awesome. I'd really appreciate the follow, and it would be great. Our mission here today is standard. We're here to equip the saints. You are all the saints, and we appreciate you tuning in. Look, your gender was assigned by God, and no, God wasn't confused. You might be, but not God. So remember that. We've got all sorts of things to talk about. We're going to start in D.C., but the crime that is going on there and how it is absolutely collapsing. Crime is collapsing. It's going down incredibly. That is a big story. I think there are two other really big stories that unfortunately are not going to get the attention that truly it needs. One is the success of President Trump's international diplomacy over the past 5 days, whether that be the summit in Alaska or now the summit in D.C. You could see that Zelensky actually at least put on a sport coat for a change. He's getting there. It's taking a little bit of time. And then this has gone real quiet. You notice this is how the mainstream media does stuff. They sit there and make a bunch of noise about a story, and then they just let it drop and fall to the ground. And that's what's going on in Texas with the map redistribution, reapportionment, and the other ancillaries that are going with that, including the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court does what it's indicating it's going to do, and we've got a story on that, it's truly going to change the United States of America. But we've got to start in Washington, D.C. via Mississippi. And this is coming from the Magnolia Tribune, Frank Corder, August 18th. Governor Reeves approves Mississippi National Guard deployment to D.C. crime crackdown, to support D.C. crime crackdown. Approximately 200 troops, the article says. That's a lot of troops. And I know at least one of them. I think I actually know two of them. Safe journeys, and hopefully they come back safe in about another 30 days. I've approved the deployment of approximately 200 Mississippi National Guard soldiers to Washington, D.C. to support President Trump's effort to return law and order to the nation's capital. And if it was not working, this would be shoved down your throat on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MS, whatever they're going to call it. But it's actually working. And the truth of this is, whether you like doom scrolling on TikTok or looking around on X for anecdotal evidence of this. I mean, DC, they are taking no prisoners. I don't know if you saw, but Brett Baird from Fox actually got pulled over by the DC cops in his G-Wagon. And they got the whole thing on tape. He's sitting there proving his insurance, his registration, and I assume his driver's license. Cop walks off. Cop gives it back to him, and on he goes. It'll be interesting to see if that makes the nightly show on Fox. I don't watch Fox really. I'll catch snippets of it here and there, but it'll be interesting to see if Brett Baird actually talks about that. It's good to see that Mississippi is a law and order state, that we're supporting our president to clean up our nation's capital. Ronald Reagan called Washington, D.C. the shining city on the hill, and it should be. There's also a video going around, I'm not gonna play it, but Mayor Bowser just 2 years ago asked for the National Guard to come in and help clean up Washington, D.C. She wanted control of it, and I'm not sure how you could put the National Guard under command of a mayor, but considering that Washington, D.C. police officers, police chiefs, and the police force in general, at least at the upper end of the chain, don't understand what the chain of command is. I'm really not sure I want anybody from the Mississippi, or I'm sorry, from the Washington, D.C. police force in control of our National Guard. I think President Trump doing a fine job, and it's really good to see some of these quotes that are coming out. This one here is from Secretary Sean Duffy. He's our transportation secretary. And it's just got pictures of our National Guard troops walking through the subway. And you've never seen the subway so peaceful and so clean. It doesn't look all trashed out, which is pretty cool. Then we also have another video talking about the different crime statistics. And make sure I can get that pulled up. There we go. Robbery, down 46%. Carjackings, down 83%. Car theft, down 21%. Violent crime, down 22%. Property crime, down 6%. All crimes, down 8%. Oh, Andrew, who's telling you that? That's just somebody making something up on X. This is the Washington, D.C. Police Union validated account. So we know that this is having a positive impact. And the truth of the matter is, the community in Washington, D.C. wants it. And let's be honest, out of the 700,000 residents of Washington, D.C., well over half are Black. And they are incredibly thankful and supportive for this. There's this awesome video. I want to make sure I play the right one. It's 15 seconds long. It's kind of quiet, but it's the comment at the end. And what this is this is a downtown park and residential neighborhood. I'm going to play and talk over it a little bit while it's going. And it's just, there's no thugs out there. It's all cleaned up. It's quiet.
Right, it is. Strangely empty.
People are walking around DC safe and happy. And this is what I voted for. I hope this is what you voted for. We don't not only need law and order back in Washington, D.C., but once we prove this works, we've got to figure out how to bring law and order back to all of our major mega metropolises. And I know that Jackson isn't considered a mega metropolis, but it is the largest city in Mississippi, and we've got to figure a way to get that straightened out. Mayor Horn, Chief Wade, Governor Reeves. I mean, and like we've said in the past on the show, we've got the blueprint with the Capital District Police Department right there in downtown Jackson. We know how to clean this up. But do we want to? We know that President Trump wants to, and that right there, when you have good, solid leadership like that, you know it's gonna make all the difference in the world. Good leadership's hard to find, and unfortunately, we don't have it all over the United States, especially, let's be truthful, in Democrat-controlled areas. If you look in California, if you look in Illinois or Chicago or anything like that. Good morning to the official program observer checking in on YouTube. Appreciate that. Want to make sure that we have leadership coming down from the top and hopefully it sprinkles all over these other places. And not that we'll actually get it in some of these cities that are not only in blue controlled mega metropolises, but blue controlled states, but perhaps we'll get them in red controlled states that have blue mega metropolises with strong governors like Tate Reeves, like Governor Abbott, like Governor DeSantis. And we'll just continue to pile up the wins and let the liberals continue to wring their hands and try to figure out what's wrong. It's really interesting. We were talking to a bunch of people of us who've moved here from out of state to Mississippi. And the thing that I've noticed about us is that we're all very conservative, and we really appreciate what Mississippi brings to the table. And we need to continue to inspire that. There's not a brain drain in Mississippi. There's not a exodus of people. There's actually Mississippi is growing in such a good way. And I have to say, in one of my stories, I can't remember if it's the Mississippi Free Press or the Mississippi Today. We'll have to look at it. But they're talking about what makes Mississippi attractive to businesses coming in here. And one of the things that it is, I've got to think, is going to be the crime rate, how low it is, and two, the business economy and the environment that we provide to allow these businesses to flourish and grow without all the bureaucratic regulation and other BS that comes with trying to start a business. It's not easy, but between everything that the news media is showing us in DC with the crime and how we're implementing that going forward here in Mississippi, I think that bodes well for Mississippi. I think that bodes well for for America. And I'm just grateful and thankful that Tate Reeves sent over 200 of our troops. Can't wait to welcome them back after a job well done, and hopefully our capital, our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., gets cleaned up. We're off and running on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. They're definitely right there. There could be a place where there is no voter boundaries for Mississippi to redraw, but we could. Again, there's not a lot of want to in the Senate. There's not enough leadership there to do that. But this is what's really incredible. And if we go to democracydocket.com, and I will go ahead and share this on X like I do, because I think it's important that you guys see the stories that I'm pulling from so you can do your own research and your own due diligence. Again, we equip the saints so that way people out there can make their own decisions. The U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear oral arguments in Callis versus Landry, the high-stakes Louisiana redistricting case that could upend the Voting Rights Act, on October 15th. So the Supreme Court was supposed to rule on this at the end of June or the middle of June, but they've decided against it. Now they're going ahead and they are going to, again, rehear this case on October 15th. And it's really curious as to what this case is going to do. Because before, the Voting Rights Act said you had to have majority-minority districts. The case is set to be heard by SCOTUS for a second time, stems from a lawsuit over a new congressional map that Louisiana acted in 2024, following a court order that required the state to draw a second majority Black district to remedy Section 2 violations of the Voter Rights Act, or the VRA. But almost immediately after Louisiana's new map passed, a group of identifying themselves as non-African American voters sued to stop it, arguing the new majority Black district created a radical or racial gerrymander in violation of the 14th and 15th Amendments. And a federal district court agreed to hear that. So all the stuff we tried to fix back in the 60s when we knew we had problems and we were realigning the United States, it's a pendulum. It's just like your grandfather clock in your house. The pendulum swings one way, then it comes back to the other way. And the Supreme Court, I mean, people who read the tea leaves per se are thinking that the Supreme Court is going to get rid of majority-minority districts, which means you can draw them any which way you want. And please, all you sanctimonious Democrats out there who talking about gerrymandering Texas, you look no further than Illinois and California. You can look in New York too. You know, last week we went through every state in New England, except for Maine, has all Democrat congressmen. They've completely gerrymandered the districts to where there are no Republicans who can win, even though Republicans sometimes have 45% of the population. They have no representation in Washington, D.C. And now all of a sudden, people are all fired up, concerned about Texas redrawing its districts. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And the other part of this that is making this so exciting is President Trump is coming out and saying we need to get rid of mail-in balloting. No other country, no other democracy or republic in the world has mail-in balloting. Now, I do think there needs to be some type of resolution for military members overseas, those who work outside of their state. There has to be something there. But we live in a society where anybody who needs a valid ID can get one. There's nobody in Mississippi who's having their civil rights denied and can't get a ID. You know, we don't have that problem. And President Trump is going to work to get rid of that mail-in ballot ID. And look, we just saw in Michigan where alderman is under investigation now for dropping off many, many ballots. I don't know if it's tens, hundreds, but he drives up to the drop-off box in the same car over and over again, dropping off ballots. And there's only one exclusion for you to be dropping off more than one ballot at the ballot drop-off box, if that is somebody in your immediate family in your residence. You can get away with dropping off more than one ballot at that point. But this mail-in balloting, and we all know it, everybody listening to my voice knows it, that mail-in balloting is just a way to steal the election. And could Republicans use mail-in balloting in certain places? Yes, we could, and we could probably be very, very good at doing that. But but not unfortunately, but just the truth of the matter is that's not where we're finding the fraud. We're finding the fraud in blue states and in blue cities and in blue counties. It's just the truth. So we're going after the immigration. We're going after the VRA and how we draw districts, and we're going after the mail-in balloting. Seems to me like we've got a pretty lucid president who's got a firm idea of where he wants to take this nation and where he wants to take this country. And in Mississippi, for the most part, I think we're going the right way. Do I wish we would be more conservative and more, I don't want to say combative, but just more stiff? Yep, I do. But that's just not where we're at right now. And, you go to war with the army you have, not the one that you wish you have. You sit there and woulda, coulda, shoulda. That would have been great. We were talking to Buck yesterday, it to sit there and actually try to get change, even on a local level, is so hard. And now we're going to try to do it on a state level. You've got to have not only your state leaders who are bought into that regime change and that plan, but you're also going to have your local counties and local governments bought into that. And it just seems right now that we all say we're Republicans, but are we actually really going that hard and towing the real Republican line? I would say no. Texas, and this is coming from, I'm using CNN as a source on this. The Texas Democrats have all come back to Texas. And they basically, they still have to pay all their fines and restitution and all that stuff, and that's great. But the thing is they all had to sign like a retainer paper that allows the Texas government to follow them around to bring them back to the quorum so that they can get the new maps passed, so that they can get the flood relief passed, so that they can continue to do the business that Texas needs to get done. But there was one Texas lawmaker, she has refused to sign that piece of paper, and she's literally being held in the Capitol. And good on her for that. If she doesn't want to sign that and doesn't want to have that Texas ranger or whoever it is that follows them around, good for them. But I'm here to tell you that they all went away from their duty. They all disbanded and fled and ran like cowards to Illinois, New York, California, wherever it was that they ran to. And they didn't conduct the business. They didn't continue their duty that they were elected to do. And now all these new complications and problems are going to befall them. Man, I couldn't imagine. I mean, they racked up at least 3,000. I mean, they were gone for what? 8 days. 8 times 5 is 40. So that's $4,000 just in fines. Not, missing $500 a day, not getting paid their salary, direct deposit halted. I mean, they've completely screwed up the whole system. And again, it's not Republicans who are running and fleeing. It's Democrats. When they can't get their way, when they can't win, they just take these weird measures. And it bodes well for Republicans because we can go ahead and can continue to draw in from the middle, the center left, and bring them to the right, saying, look, this is what we agree in. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And we can explain it articulately and have real conversations. Or you can go like the whole MS Now, Rachel or Joy Reid, which we're going to get to probably in the next segment. My goodness, that lady is the gift that keeps on giving if you're a conservative. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
And most popular vehicles in America. Both Clinton Body Shops are ProFirst certified to repair your Honda or Acura to the high standard of safety and appearance your car was designed to meet. Visit collision.honda.com and watch the videos that explain why it's so important to choose a body shop certified by North American Honda. In Clinton or in Richland, choose Clinton Body Shop. We work for you. We take pride in perfection.
Here's a word from John White, the owner of Two Gun Tactical in Flowood and Ridgeland.
I carry a gun every day, all the time. Last year in America, 2 million legal guns were pulled, and it stopped the threat. So I'm really wearing a firearm just to stop the threat. There's more likelihood of me just pulling it and not using it than there is using it. TwoGunTactical.com, TwoGunTactical.com.
Two Gun Tactical, the South's only country club.
Would you like the convenience of a sunglass clip that fits your eyeglass frame? Hi, it's Bruce from Eye Gear Optical, and I've heard you asking, so I stocked up on them. Come choose from our selection of Revolution eyewear frames with magnetic sun clips at fantastic prices. For about the same price as a regular eyeglass frame, you can have the best of both worlds while they last. Come see me and I'll customize a pair just for you at Eye Gear Optical, 2630 Highway 80 East in Pearl, and on the web at eyegearoptical.com.
Attention homeowners and business owners. Complete Exteriors is now Elite Roofing and Gutters. Are your roof and gutters storm ready? The folks at Elite are your local experts in storm protection. Now is the time for an inspection and for proactive solutions that ensure your roof and gutters can withstand any storm. Get up to a possible $250 rebate on a new roofing system for all active military, veterans, and retirees. Online at EliteRoofer.com.
If you want the best health care, where do you go? The Mayo Clinic. If you want the best care for your vehicle, where do you go? Mayo Auto Clinic in Raymond. Mayo Auto Clinic does foreign and domestic vehicles and diesel repair. Mayo Auto Clinic has ASE certified techs with over 25 years of experience. You can extend the life of your car or truck when you take it to Mayo Auto Clinic. For cost-effective repairs and maintenance, go to the best, Mayo Auto Clinic. Open weekdays at 7 a.m. Highway 18 in Raymond.
Yep, we're back on the Andrew Gosser Show at 103.9 WYAB. If you want to call into the show, the number is 601-879-0002. The text line is open at 601-879-5060. I do have some text I want to get to, but I want to get to these other stories that tie in with voting. This is coming from the Magnolia Tribune, Jeremy Patari. Trump wants to end mail-in voting. Mississippi Senate and House elections chairman respond. And this is good news because if we do have our election chairs that, they're not necessarily going to redraw maps, but they're going to try to clamp down on this mail-in voting scheme, then I think it's great. And I think it's one of those things where the more that we hear about our elected officials doing stuff, I think it's important that we, as a listening audience, say, "Hey, we hear what you're saying and we approve of it." Or if you don't like what they're doing, you let them know they don't approve of it. And this is coming from England, Senator Jeremy England. I want to make sure I get that right. I almost said state rep, but it's Senator England. I certainly think that in-person voting is the safest and best way to vote because the safeguards are better and the results are quicker. So I look forward to seeing what suggestions come from the effort by the Trump administration to at least curb mail-in ballots, England told the Magnolia Tribune on Monday. And again, this is what we were kind of talking about. However, I don't see any way to completely end mail-in voting altogether because we have members of our military overseas and people who work overseas, and we just cannot disenfranchise these citizens. I certainly agree with that, and it's a good thing. I also like what State Representative Noah Sanford said. He was just very direct and to the point. Unlike many other states, Mississippi has never permitted universal mail-in balloting, and we will not as long as I am chairman, said Sanford. See, when you have strong statements like that's you got to get behind that. Even if you don't agree with them on everything else, you can say, look, I don't agree with you on X issue over here, but when it comes to this mail-in voting, hey, good stuff. But there's other stuff that's going on with mail-in voting inside Mississippi and around the United States. And this too comes from Magnolia Tribune. Secretary of State cautions Mississippians over voter registration mailers out of D.C. Mississippi Secretary of State says a nonprofit out of Washington, D.C. is planning to send voter registration mailers to Mississippi residents. Secretary Watson said that these mailers are not official correspondence from the Mississippi Secretary of State's office. And what is this organization? The Voter Participation Center. And you can go look at them online at voterparticipation.org. It's another one of these left-wing front groups to try to get in a bunch of mail-in voting to get everybody all signed up, registered to vote, and allow for fraud to happen. And good for us that we have a Secretary of State and Secretary of State White who has already identified this, has this on his radar. And it says the mailers are a group targeting the new American majority, 18 to 35-year-old men who are not white or women in the same age range who are not married. So you can see who they're going for. They're going for the angry lib. And that's what they're going to try to do. Never mind that this whole new generation, Generation Z, is so far shifting to the right. They don't drink as much. They don't smoke as much. They're not having premarital sex like we did in our age. I mean, these are just what the surveys and respondents are saying, not just one, but multiple. And it's a thing where, look, we want borders, we want guidelines, we want boundaries in our society. We want our morals back. And we're slowly getting there, but it's going to take time. The mailers are from the Voter Participation Center, a self-described nonprofit, nonpartisan organization founded in 2003 to help members of the new American majority register to vote. The organization defines that new American majority, and it goes through the whole thing again. It estimates that it's helped 6.6 million people register to vote. We've got all sorts of people out there registering to vote. If you want to register to vote, you can go register to vote today. We should be wanting to have people involved in our local politics, in our federal local politics. We should all be voter registrars, where we get people down to the clerk's office. You can also go to My Election Day. Oh, you know what? There's a great website out there, and I teach it and I use it a lot. It's myelectionday.sos.state.ms.us. It's awesome. I'll tweet it right now. This is through the Secretary of State's office, Michael Watson. I'll tweet it. And if you need any help with voting, finding out where to vote, all that, I mean, Mississippi's got actually one of the best portals in America for online information on where to vote, where to go, what to do. And do we use it? Do we promote it enough? Probably not. I promote it. As a member of the Executive Committee Republican Party in Hinds, I tell all my people in southeastern Hinds County, hey, this is where you go. This is where your polling place is. We do a pretty good job of putting out there when polling places change on the quick. Always looking for new people to become part of the party. Always looking for new people to be help out on poll watching day, whether it be a poll worker, poll watcher. There's all sorts of ways for you to get out there and get involved in that. I want to get back to what Brother Rick said, though. He texted me this. How can we be a law and order state when, number one, Jackson is the way it is, and two, every 2 years there's voter fraud in our elections due to the way districts are drawn? And you know, Mississippi, what I'd say, Brother Rick, is Mississippi is bigger than just Jackson. And we do have a lot of great stuff that's going on inside Mississippi. Everybody knows Jackson has problems. Mayor Horn's been there. He hasn't been there 90 days yet. Chief Wade is attempting to crack down on this, and we got to see what solutions they come up with. You know, it's been about 100 days, so they should be able to start formulating their plan and being able to present it to all of us to see how we can help execute that plan. But we can do that, and we can crack down on illegal voting just by simply going ahead and supporting Trump's initiatives to get rid of mail-in voting, in universal mail-in voting, excuse me. And, you know, we can go ahead and do those types of initiatives. And again, we need to find out where our local state reps and senators are on this. I'd be really curious to find out how many people actually know who their state rep and state senator is. Most do not. You can find it on My Election Day. It'll point you in the right direction. But there are good things happening out there, and every day it's so easy for me to come in to do the show and just doom scroll it all. Literally, it could take me 15 minutes just doom scrolling on X and Ground News, and I can find all the most depressing, sad stories to make us all feel miserable every day. But that's not my goal. People who know me know I'm an encourager, and I want to lift us up so that, you know, hey, we can make a positive difference, even if it's just locally. You never know who you're setting up up next to take that next big step. So good stuff from Mississippi Today, trying to make us all feel like nothing's going to happen. If this case, and just to close this topic up, if this case from Louisiana actually does change the VRA, then I think Mississippi has to look really hard at how it's drawing its lines going forward. And probably some of you all there at the state capitol owe Melanie Sojourner apology. You're listening to Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
While you drown in debt and thousands of veterans rot on the
Oh, yeah. Love the bumper music. It makes the show. Look, there's all sorts of good stuff going on. One of the things that's I want to talk about, and people are saying this is not a good thing, but hear me out, and let's see where this plays out coming up here in the next week or so. This just came over, and I'm like, we were talking about Washington, D.C., and how crime is going down and how the streets are getting cleaned up. Reservations plunge across Washington, D.C. restaurants after Trump's police takeover. Online reservations have dropped more than 25%. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that when you have the mainstream media terrorizing the hell out of the population, saying that it's all over, that they're thinking that this is the Gestapo or the Stasi, and people don't want to go out. But, you know, it was, I'll never forget this. One of the first nights of COVID in Illinois, they said that the hospitals were completely flooded. So I actually drove out to my local hospital, Good Shepherd Hospital in Barrington, Illinois, and there was nobody there. They had the tents up and everything was all quarantined off. There was no line. There was no wait. There was no panic. And I remember I went to go live on Facebook, and within 2 minutes of me going live, gone. And it's the same playbook. It's the same plan. Sit there and get the fear ginned up, get everybody fired up. The best thing you can do if you really are against totalitarianism, fascism, and everything, the best thing you can do is go to your favorite restaurant and have a meal. And don't be cheap. Tip like you mean it. You know who you are. There's some of you people out there, terrible tippers. And you'll sit there and give any excuse to go get a good meal, and you treat your waiter or waitress like hot garbage. That's a personal pet peeve of mine. My mom worked 3 waitressing jobs to raise us kids, and tips made it happen for our household. So I always try to make sure that I'm a good tipper. And they show a graph here showing where, once the takeover, President Trump announces DC takeover, tips fell, and it's actually starting to bounce up, which is good. But if you just looked 3 weeks ago, attendance at Washington, D.C. eateries was actually going down because they raised the minimum wage for waiters and waitresses, and prices were going up. In fact, so much so that the D.C. Council votes to slow down and cap tipped wage increases. This is from the Washingtonian. What's the date on this? July 28th. DC's tipped wage will not be phased out by 2027 as scheduled. Instead, the DC Council voted 7-5 to partially repeal the Initiative 82, slowing down increases in the tipped wages. Why? So they didn't have to raise prices on all their food. I mean, this isn't rocket science here. This is basic economics, supply and demand, cost curve. We should have learned all this back in the day when we were in high school learning all this stuff. But now, unfortunately, you can't even take economics in high school. They don't have the full up economics class. There are places like Khan Academy and places on YouTube that will teach you economics, but you have to have your child be interested in it to go search it out. And that doesn't always happen. It is not as bad out there as people want you to believe. It's actually doing quite well. And just think, we haven't even started talking about what President Trump pulled off in the White House yesterday. We're not even talking about the world's greatest flyover ever and what President Trump did in Alaska. And if you want to read the headlines now, Trump is already looking to set up the next meeting, a one-on-one between Vlad and Zelensky. Looking good. We'll be right back.
CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Steve Kathan. All along the Atlantic coast, officials are telling people to be careful.
Today, you can go in the water only up to your knee. Tomorrow and Thursday, no water. And on Thursday, no beach access.
John Ferretti is a town supervisor on New York's Long Island. Hurricane Aaron's expected to kick up dangerous surf the next few days from the northeast down to the deep south. CBS Philadelphia meteorologist Grant Gilmore tracking the storm as it remains offshore.
Winds down to 105 miles per hour, so still a Category 2 hurricane, no longer forecast to be a Cat 3 as it grazes the North Carolina coast. Still a dangerous concern for some storm surge and it burns in some big waves. So watching Aaron closely as it turns north and starts to head just east of the United States.
From the sound of it, President Trump is optimistic Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky will sit down and talk. Nothing's been agreed to as of now. CBS News White House correspondent Nancy Cordes.
What President Trump had initially portrayed as a trilateral meeting between himself, Zelensky, and Putin, he now says will actually be a bilateral meeting between just Putin and Zelensky. And then if things go well and they want him there, President Trump would meet with the two of them as a trio. And that's notable because Vladimir Putin has not been willing to sit down with Zelensky. He has not been willing to even recognize him as a legitimate leader of Ukraine.
A day after Hamas accepted a new proposal for a ceasefire with Israel, Jerusalem reporter Linda Gradstein tells us a senior Israeli official said the government is standing firm on the remaining hostages.
This senior official told foreign journalists that the government's position has not changed, and he demanded the release of all 50 hostages, 20 of whom are still believed to be alive. The statement came after Hamas accepted a proposal for a 60-day ceasefire and the release of 10 living hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners and large amounts of aid entering Gaza.
The American Academy of Pediatrics said today that children ages 6 months to 23 months should receive a COVID-19 vaccine. The federal CDC no longer recommends that. Sean Muse got quite a surprise in Florida. He and his friends caught a 6-foot lemon shark, and while posing for pictures with it before returning it to the ocean, the shark turned and bit him.
It's unfortunate, but it's something that happens when you go, it happens sometimes. Luckily, he only took a little bit of me, and not a lot.
And checking Wall Street right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up about 5 points. The S&P and NASDAQ are trading lower. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Get renter's insurance to protect the things that make your place a home, including coverage for theft or damage. Visit Progressive.com.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, head dander, and pollen to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.
Local news and weather brought to you by Mississippi Energy Services. We're your fast, affordable, and friendly generator service company. MSenergy.us. MSenergy.us.
The attempted murder of a police officer. The high today is 98. The heat index expected at 107. And an extreme heat warning is in effect with a 20% chance for afternoon storms. Tonight, mostly clear and 75. Wednesday, a 40% chance for afternoon storms with a high at 98. You've got news on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis. A man from St. Louis is now charged with burglary of a dwelling, possession of a stolen firearm, and attempted murder of a law enforcement officer in Columbia in Marion County. Police say Sunday officers went to investigate possible squatters on some property near Highway 98 near the Pearl River when 32-year-old Daniel Chiodini of St. Louis used a stolen shotgun and shot into the driver's side window of a police car. No one was hurt, and officers chased the man to a boat ramp where he was caught. The 12-gauge was found in the bushes. Mississippi is doing its part, says Governor Tate Reeves. He ordered 200 Mississippi National Guards men and women to go to Washington, D.C. to support the federal takeover of policing there, which is on orders from President Trump. The governor says crime is out of control in D.C. and the people deserve better in their capital city. 3 people, including a father and son, are now under arrest for a murder that happened nearly a year ago near the intersection of Highway 80 and State Street. That's where Marquise Scott was found shot September 15th. Now, Cardero Hardin Jr. and Sr. have both been arrested, along with Mario Brown. Also under arrest is 47-year-old Chantilly Keith Richmond of Byram. Capitol Police believe he's the guy who robbed the Cadence Bank on Canton Mart Road last week, and he is charged with armed robbery and possession of a firearm by a felon. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are the individual views and opinions of the people expressing them.
Let's do it. This is the second hour of the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. It is Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Just remember, everybody, your gender was assigned by God, and no, God's not confused. It just might be you. But that's all right. Just keep listening, keep tuning in. We'll get you there. We're here every day to equip the saints. We're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on that evil social media platform that begins with a F, but we don't say the name because they censor the heck out of us. And of course, we also stream at the mothership, WYAB.com. The number, if you want to be part of the program today, 601-879-0002. The text line is open, 601-879-5060. Look, it's just been a great first hour. It's going to be even a better second hour. I appreciate all the texts coming in. There's some good ideas going on there. I've also been hit up on X with a few different things that I'm going to check on and watch after the show, because I just, it's just something that I was told, never click on something that you don't know what's there. Because the last thing I need to do is click on a button and then Brother Matt is upset with me because I didn't hit the Deedle button quick enough. But there, in the second hour, where I really want to start is what President Trump did in the White House yesterday. You know, everybody who's sitting there listening to MS Now and CNN and all these left-wing raging lunatics on how bad Trump is doing, you know, I would suggest that you put that down, step away, and go listen to what some of the world leaders are saying. It's now being reported just since this show started that Trump is setting up a one-on-one meeting with Vladimir Putin and Zelensky. I think that's awesome. Hopefully those two adult men can go into a room and figure something out and we can get this thing ended. Because I'll tell you what, I do not, and I get in trouble from my Republican friends for saying this, but it's true. I do not like how we are upholding the military-industrial complex by having Europe sell all of its old and moldy military weapons to Ukraine for Ukraine to use them against Russia. And then Europe comes in and announces all these new high-tech contracts with the American military-industrial complex to get all the good new stuff. I realize that's how it works out in the wash, and I know that's how we've always done it, but at some point we need peace. And I don't want to deal with Biden's war anymore. And apparently I'm not the only one who thinks this. This is coming from Fox News. President Donald Trump described his White House negotiations with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and European leaders as a very good early step. Toward ending the nearly 4-year war in Ukraine, announcing he was already spoken with President Vladimir Putin about arranging a direct meeting. What is really amazing in all this is to listen to all the different world leaders and what they thought this meeting was. Because unfortunately, when we don't get to hear what the actual leaders are saying, when we're only getting force-fed us from the lying news media, it's really good. So this is pretty interesting. Finnish President Alex Stubb. And this is 9 seconds of sound. Listen to what Finland's thinking. And they're right there. They're right up against Ukraine and Russia. So they got a sideways view of what's going on.
I think in the past 2 weeks, we've probably had more progress in ending this war than we have in the past 3.5 years.
Well, that's pretty direct and blunt. I like it when a man can stand up, be brief, and be seated. My old pastor and professor E. Ray Cox right there would say that all the time. Andrew, stand up, be brief, be seated. Yes, sir. More progress in the last 2 weeks in the last 3.5 years. And you know what? I've got people on my timeline whining and complaining, I won't say the other word, about the cost of the flyover in front of Vladimir Putin and the cost of lining everything up. I don't know, how much is the cost of one life? 2 lives, maybe? Maybe 50 lives. Is it worth it? It's a ridiculous argument to make, but that's what the left does. This is the NATO Secretary General. He's got a little bit longer comment, but you remember, this was the guy who basically said when Trump showed up that everybody's going to behave because daddy's home.
I really want to thank you, President of the United States, dear Donald, for the fact that you, as I said,
Dear Donald. That's funny.
Before, broke the deadlock, basically, with President Putin by starting that dialogue. And I think it was in February that you had the first phone call. And from there, we are now where we are today. And that is, I think, if we play this well, we could end this. And we have to end this. We have to stop the killing. We have to stop the destruction of Ukraine's infrastructure. It is a terrible war. So I'm really excited.
You know, NATO is understanding what's going on here. We know that the Ukraine can never be brought into NATO. And it's not going to happen. President Trump has said it. Everybody else has said it. Now they're trying to say, well, we can treat them like they're in NATO with the Article 5, which is if one's attacked, we're all attacked kind of deal. But that's just not going to happen. But that's the leader of NATO basically parroting and repeating what Trump says. And the truth of the matter is, they're not saying that because Trump is bullying them. It's because Trump's making sense. 3.5 years of war and nothing. And Trump's come in. He hasn't even been in office a full 6 months yet, I don't think. January, February, March, April, May, June. Well, yeah, it has. It's been 7 months. And he's already having this impact. That's good. This is the leader from Italy. She's a firebrand. And she has a really long comment. I'm only going to play the first 22 seconds, but I think it's important because Italy is one of those people or one of those countries, much like Argentina, that allies itself really close with the United States, kind of like Hungary. Very, very strong nationalist. We like that. A strong Italy means a strong world, just like a strong France means a strong world, just like a strong Ukraine means a strong world, and a strong Russia means a strong world. There's nothing wrong with having strong nationalist ties as long as you're not slaughtering people.
Thank you very much, Donald, Mr. President, for hosting us.
Did everybody just say we're going to just start calling President Trump Donald, Mr. President? The look on Trump's face when she did that, too. He's just like, I don't know if I like that from you. Secretary of NATO, yeah.
Today in this important meeting, and I think it is an important day, a new phase, after 3 years and a half that we didn't see any kind of sign from the Russian side that there was a willing for dialogue. So something is changing, something has changed, thanks to you. Thanks also to the stalling in the battlefield, which was achieved with the bravery of Ukrainians and with the unity that we all provided to Ukraine. And the reason why I mention it is that we also have to remind that if we want to reach peace and if we want to guarantee justice, we have to do it united. So that's why it's a very good day, the one we are in. You can obviously count on Italy as it was from the beginning. We are on the side of Ukraine, and we do absolutely support your efforts towards peace.
So you can see right here, Italy is all in for this. They want to support Ukraine, but they understand what Trump's doing. There was a soundbite. I couldn't find it. I did hear it yesterday, but it was one of these. Maybe I don't think it was the French president. I'll try to find it during the break. But basically said, look, we can't have peace until we have a ceasefire. And then Trump brought up the 6 other wars he stopped this year without ever having a ceasefire. He did it all straight to peace. And everybody just kind of like, ooh, we kind of hear that. You know, so just sit there and there's going to be another side of this that's going to be popping up talking about how we didn't get a ceasefire. But I genuinely think that's okay right now. In the long run, if we do get this peace deal and we can cool down Europe, we can cool down Russia and Ukraine, we can start focusing on all other stuff. And there is a bill out there. I've been texted this. I haven't seen the actual news story yet, but apparently, hang on, everybody, but it's looking like a $56 billion Ukrainian spending package getting ready to be fired up. It's going to be coming out of the Senate. And no, you could send that money all over the United States and fix so much more stuff. Let's fix America first, not Ukraine. But I don't want to be completely unbalanced. And when Vladimir Putin was on, I gave him his respect, and I want to give Vladimir Zelensky his respect too. Homie didn't show up to the meeting in a t-shirt. He showed up in a polo and a sports jacket. Still completely out of bounds as far as I'm concerned. You're at the White House with global world leaders. You should have a suit on, but he didn't. But at least he put on a sport coat, and he did have a comment. And I would not be being fair to all of you if I didn't play you what Vladimir Zelensky had to say. And he's short and succinct. Good on him. Here you go.
Thank you so much. I think that we had very good conversation with President Trump.
Very good.
And it really was the best one, or sorry, maybe the best one will be in the future. But it was really good. And we spoke about very sensitive points. Thank you.
And did you hear about that? It's the best one so far, better in the future. You've got the leaders of Europe all meeting at the White House on a Monday. Just last week, he was in Alaska meeting with Russia. Now, today, multiple sources are now saying that Zelensky-Putin meeting looks like Trump is going to have this set up potentially by the end of the week. That would be just ridiculous. I mean, the politician in Trump right there, the art of making the deal right there. How if you're, I mean, look, first of all, if you're a Democrat, you have to be sitting there looking at yourself completely demoralized because everything that you've been pushing out or you've been being pushed on you by the Democrat talking heads is completely false. You're living in like a false narrative. You're not living in reality. You're out on your own regime. And now you see the potential of President Zelensky and President Putin meeting together to knock this out. And Trump said, if you want me there, he's there. I mean, quite frankly, this is like one of the proudest moments that we've had in like forever. Like, I'm proud of what our president's doing, trying to end this. I'm excited about it. President Trump continues to outmaneuver the left and the mainstream media. The mainstream media continues to collapse. And we just carry on here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
Anybody, they would.
Ambassador, when you look at Trump, Putin,
the mag,
imperial Russian remake, is that actually enough to keep Vladimir Putin away from his ambition of remaking the Russian imperial order?
And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're moving right along. I would be remiss if I didn't play a CNN clip of CNN trying to just twist the whole Zelensky-Putin summit on its head. And I just want to play this because this guy used to be highly respected within the American zeitgeist as far as foreign policy, being at the UN, tough as nails. But this is just what happens when you just get old and bitter and you don't adapt. You know, what worked in 1975 is not going to work in 2025. But I digress. But I want to give it fair due because, again, on the Andrew Gosser Show, we are unbiased. We play both sides.
I think we're a long way from any of that. I can't wait till the MAGA base hears that Donald Trump has committed American combat forces, U.S. forces against Russian forces on the line in Ukraine if the Russians violate the ceasefire. One nuclear power directly against another nuclear power. I don't think that's what they signed up for with Donald Trump, and I don't think he's necessarily thought through that implication either. He wants a Nobel Peace Prize, and he wants it now. So he's willing to say a lot of things. He didn't really commit to anything. You could have all kinds of U.S. troops in Ukraine, as we did before the invasion. We had train and assist missions. They weren't there to fight anybody. They were there to train the Ukrainians. That's very different from a combat force.
And he goes on and on and on. And I'm not going to play the whole 3.5 minutes of it. But again, it's not, hey, good job, we're trying to do something different. It's like, I can't wait to see what happens when this happens. Or what happens if this happens? What's MAGA going to do then? MAGA is going to do what MAGA is going to do. Trump knows MAGA because he created it. And just like we're all waiting on these Epstein perp walks, I get it. We're all waiting for these perp walks on Letitia James and Adam Schiff. And I know that there are people out here listening to me right now saying, we want it, we want it, we want it. I think most of us do. But just from my own very limited experience of going after and identifying corrupt politicians and actually finding corrupt politicians and then presenting it to law enforcement, they are slow as all get out. And it's going to be tough. But just as we were talking about how the left is completely trashing the Zelensky summit with the European leaders yesterday, listen to this. This is coming from Politico Europe. It's a leaning left organization. Switzerland says it won't arrest Putin if he comes for peace talks. Switzerland is ready to grant immunity to Russian leader Vladimir Putin to attend a peace conference, as stated by Swiss Foreign Minister Cassis. I'm just going to say it like that. Immunity would apply to Putin only during the international negotiations and not for private visits. So basically, Switzerland's saying, hey, you two want to come to Switzerland to meet to work this out? Full immunity for you, President Putin. Come on over. Let's work this out. That's just the world recognizing the opportunity that we have here and the leadership that President Trump is providing. It's not argumentative. It's just what it is. And again, I try to find sources that are not what normal radio show would typically get, because if I use all the same stuff that whether they're national news media or local news media use, then I'm not bringing nothing new to the table. And one of the things that I've always enjoyed is being just a little bit different. So that's exciting. Now, this is going to be really exciting for a lot of you. Trump taps Missouri Attorney General to be number 2 at FBI. What? Andrew Bailey would share co-deputy director role with Andrew Bongino, who has clashed with Attorney General Pam Bondi over the Epstein files. So we're going to have 2 number 2s at the FBI. Clearly, Dan Bongino has got something going on there. Not necessarily happy with Pam Bondi. I don't think I don't think anybody's really happy with Pam Bondi, quite truthfully. And all I'm going to say is I've known attorneys who have been district attorneys at the county level, and they've been prosecutors. And going through the process, it takes a ridiculous amount of time. And I know people don't want to hear this, but I'm just going to say I do believe that we will get some people brought out and perp walked. I do think Letitia James will be one. I do think Adam Schiff will be one. Ghislaine Maxwell is still alive in Texas, so that's a good thing. And the investigations continue to go on. My whole thing, and this is just me speculating on this, but I genuinely think President Trump is bringing on this guy, Andrew Bailey, to do all the other FBI stuff so that Dan Bongino can just seriously focus on Epstein, because that's clearly why Epstein took the job. And I'm fine with that, being unconventional, doing different stuff like that. That's what is making this presidency and this wild ride with Donald J. Trump so good. He continues to do things that are unpredictable, and the left just simply can't keep up with him. And that's all right. Do I want to start it with this next story with Joy Reid? No, I do not. Let's go to Oklahoma. I lived in Oklahoma, Tinker Air Force Base, Newalla, Oklahoma. Great city. Great state to live in. Very conservative. Oklahoma being the only state in the union where every county voted Republican. Think about that. Every county voted Republican. Oak City is conservative. Tulsa is conservative. Norman, College Town, conservative. They got some nice Air Force bases out there too. It's really nice. But when they get an ice storm, and tornadoes are nuts, but they're not as bad as you think. It's like watching a sporting event when the tornadoes come through on the TV. It's pretty amazing. They literally have it down to the block, to the street, to literally the inch of where it's at. Oklahoma school rolls out tests for teacher applicants from California and New York. Republicans don't want that liberalism being infiltrated into their school system, much like we don't want it done here. So Mississippi, take notes. And this is coming from MS Now or MSNBC, whatever we're going to talk about. Right-wing schools chief Ryan Walters has described the test as America First certification and is aimed at rooting out woke indoctrination. And there is nobody in the sound of this voice who can deny that our schools have gone woke. People can say, oh, we're in Mississippi, we're doing a good job. I'm telling you, it's out there. I just had a meeting with a teacher last week talking about the wokeness at Northwest Rankin High. And I'm just like, get me pictures, get me something that I can prove without getting yourself in trouble, and we'll roll with it. Oklahoma is now requiring teacher applicants from those two blue states, and apparently no one else for now, to prove that they are worthy by passing Walters has described an America First test in order to receive a teaching certificate. I think we should do something like that. You know, quite frankly, every high school junior, I would say, every high school junior should have to pass the citizenship test to become a United States citizen and to vote in America. If people coming over from overseas have to go through these classes to make sure that they understand why America is so great, shouldn't our kids also? You know, Chief Torsk on yesterday, I know his voice was a bit gravelly. Someone complained about that, but that's just a 72-year-old Navy chief who drank a lot of coffee and smoked a lot of cigarettes. It's just what it is. You know, he talked about it, how education, we're so laissez-faire on it. We don't pay the attention that we should be paying when it comes to our education, especially at the local level. You know, at the national level and at the state level, it's really hard to keep track of that. But Our school board members, I don't know, I just have a different view on civics. Maybe it's because I was a military guy, went overseas and did all that. But I would be out there reaching out to everybody. As a county supervisor, I did do that. As a highway commissioner, I did do that. But it's good to see that there are states out there that are going after the woke. We needed to continue to go after the woke. And when we get back from this next commercial break, we will let Joy Reid wax poetic on the Andrew Gosser Show, and we will have fun completely dismantling her. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Be right back.
103.9 WYAB.
For over 15 years, A1 Gear and Auto has been your hometown specialist for your auto repair and maintenance needs. From brake repair to placement, to radiators, engines, starters, alternators, heat, and AC water pumps, and more, A1 will get your vehicle back up and running and on the road and in a timely manner. A1 is one of the only shops in the metro that specializes in rear differentials, rear ends, and rings and pinions. Call today to set up an appointment, or if you got questions, at 601-939-1060. A1 Gear and Auto, your hometown vehicle specialist.
At Lakeshore Church, we believe the liberation of the soul is found only in Christ. Hello, I'm Jay Frazier, Senior Pastor at Lakeshore, inviting you to come and worship with us this week. We believe in the three-cross concept of ministry: the cross of salvation, the cross of separation, and the cross of service, and we believe all of these crosses should be evident in our lives. We're at 6880 South Sidewell Road in Byram. For more information about the ministries, activities, and times of service, go to lakeshorecmc.org.
And be sure to listen to Lakeshore Church's weekly program, heard Sunday mornings at 8 on 103.9 WYAB.
CBS News brief. Evacuations along North Carolina's Outer Banks and concern up and down the East Coast as Hurricane Aaron heads north. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy.
We are hyper concerned, first and foremost, about complacency, particularly when the weather is really good, in terms of people sort of thinking about going in the water, because these rip currents are brutal.
President Trump tells Fox News he's working to get talks going between Russia's Vladimir Putin and Ukraine's president.
I hope that President Zelensky will do what he has to do. He has to show some flexibility also.
Well, CBS's Tom Hansen in New York says Air Canada is getting back to business now that striking flight attendants have reached a tentative contract with the airline.
As of now, a flight to Toronto is expected to take off and depart on time, and that is a stark change from what we've been seeing.
CBS News brief. I'm Steve Kathan.
In today's world, there's a lot of confusion all around us, but you should know the eternal truth is found in Jesus Christ. Every Sunday morning at 7, that eternal truth is explored in the scriptures on the Methodist Bible Hour USA with Gary Bryden, an ordained minister with the Association of Independent Methodists. You'll hear thoughtful study of the scriptures, insightful thoughts, and special music on the Methodist Bible Hour USA every Sunday morning at 7 on 103.9 WYAB.
Hi, this is Mary Beth Hardy, owner of Flora Pharmacy. Flora Pharmacy is proud to be locally owned and operated. We believe in the power of community and personalized care. At Flora Pharmacy, we treat you like family. And for your convenience, we offer curbside service and prescription home delivery. Just pull up and we'll bring your prescriptions right to you. Can't make it to our store? Flora Pharmacy will drive it to your doorstep. Come see the best pharmacy in town today at Flora Pharmacy, where care meets convenience. Highway 49 in Flora.
Hello, WYAB listeners. My name is Rob Montgomery. I'm a minister in the Church of God, and I'm honored to be the regional overseer for the Church of God of Louisiana and Mississippi. I invite you to listen to my program, Arise Shine, on Sunday mornings, where I'll share the Lord's thoughts to my heart for you. Arise Shine will include Bible messages, encouraging thoughts, and a biblical view of current events. It's my hope that you'll be blessed.
Tune in to Arise Shine, Sunday mornings, 10:30 to 11.
Looking for adventure, amazing food, and a little relaxation all in one place? You'll find it at Cypress Point Resort in Brandon. Load up the family and experience a real drive-through safari, petting zoo, and thrilling guided Jeep tours. Then slow it down with mouth-watering steaks at the steakhouse, or grab drinks and live music at the tavern. Planning a wedding or reunion? Cypress Point Resort has beautiful venues and cozy lodging. Ready for your big day or just a weekend escape? It's everything you love about the outdoors with a touch of luxury. Cypress Point Resort. Wild fun right around the corner.
And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. This just got sent to me during the break. I didn't even realize this, but apparently there was a woman from Lafayette, Indiana, not Lafayette, Mississippi, but Lafayette, Indiana, wanted to go after President Trump and quote unquote eliminate him. This is coming from Ground News, and it's got a bunch of different stories, but primarily from the right. But long story short, Janina Pirro said that the case is being investigated by the U.S. Secret Service and involves Natalie Rose Jones, 50, of Lafayette, Indiana, for threatening President Donald Trump. And she went on to call his administration a dictatorship, blaming him for the COVID-19 deaths between 2 and 9 August. And they're going after her. So, I mean, I'm glad that we have our our law enforcement being able to go out after people like this who would threaten the president. We don't need that nonsense. But now, speaking of nonsense, we got to talk about her, Joy Reid. She is wearing a wonderful hat, FDT. I'll let you figure out what the F stands for, but the DT is Donald Trump. And this is just a crazy clip where the left is losing so horribly. They're so bad that they're just spouting complete and utter nonsense. Let's listen to this together, shall we? It'll be good, I promise.
Ancestors made this country into a slave hell. But they can clean it up now because they got the Smithsonian. They can get rid of all the slavery stuff. They got PragerU. They can lie about the history to the children. They can't originally invent anything more than they ever were able to invent good music. We black folk gave y'all country music, hip hop, R&B, jazz, rock and roll. They couldn't even invent that, but they have to call a white man the king, because they couldn't make rock and roll. So they have to stamp the king on a man whose main song was stolen from an overweight black woman.
Joy Reid is that is what you call truly a hate-filled woman. I mean, there's no other way about it. You know, Clay Edwards this morning that said, you know, we don't want hip hop. You can keep hip hop. I listened to it growing up. I think that this is just so completely outrageous and over the top. You know, this is the poster child for affirmative action, because Joy Reid in 1991 graduated from Harvard with a degree in film studies. Did she ever talk about her degree in film studies? Nope, she just got a degree from Harvard. This is the type of house of cards. This is truly like a house of cards on the left, where they get these degrees, where they get these from these universities that are supposed to be reputable. Harvard today, its standing is completely lowered. You see what's going on there in academia. It's completely falling apart because it's not going back to the science and the study. It's going back to the feelings and how it makes her feel. I want to make sure I get all this stuff. So there are a lot of really interesting responses to Miss Joy Reid. And the one that I got was a guy named David Hookstead. He does a lot of military reporting, very interested in SF. If you ever go follow him, just realize he was never SF and he didn't do a lot of that stuff. He does have a lot of people on there who were, but just keep that in mind. So David Hookstead goes, a couple of my favorite white people inventions: the atomic bomb, the stealth bomber, college football, college basketball, F-22 Raptor, the M16 rifle, blue jeans, modern medicine, and plumbing. And I'm not taking away from everything that Clay Edwards said this morning. He's got the greatest radio show in the morning in Mississippi. If you're not listening to it, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday. And on Mondays, he does a 3-hour show. It's really good. when you have somebody who is put on a pedestal in the Black community like Joy Reid, and she is saying this, it is truly dumbing down the Black population. She's crazy. And we need people to realize that we cannot continue to go back and relitigate and rehash the past and continue to make up these falsehoods that anger our generation and people moving forward. You know, we sit here and we try so hard as a society. All men are created equal. We try to make sure that we judge people on the content of the character and not the color of their skin. And then you have Joy Reid, who's given a prominent TV show in the news media, and her whole mission in life is to sow dissension and vitriol into the fabric of America. And she's not the only one. She's just the one who is getting the attention right now. And I'm glad she's off the air. I'm glad she lost her TV show. She still gets brought onto certain radio segments, and she still does from time to time make the news. But let's be honest. There are so many great things that white people have invented, and there are so many great things that Black people have invented, and we can all agree that we are one people under God. We're all his creatures. We're all his sons and daughters. And the more we stress and try to put our own humanity and our own brains behind this and not realize what God has called us to do, it's going to be a madness. It's just going to continue to go out of control. And you will see violence. You will see rioting. You will see poverty. You will see inequity. You will see all these things because you're not sitting there living in reality in the way that God wants you to do, and you're living it the way you want it to do. And it's just never end up going to be giving you any points or standing in society. And the sooner that this lady is out of society, not wishing on her death, I'm just saying as soon as she's no longer got public access or anything like that, it's going to be a better day. And we like Elvis here in Mississippi, by the way, Joy Reid. We like Elvis. Let's see here. This is a story that popped up, and this is from CNN. Leaked recording reveals ex-Israeli military intelligence chief calling 50,000 deaths in Gaza, quote unquote, necessary. In leaked audio, former head of Israeli military intelligence can be heard saying the deaths of tens of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza are necessary and required for future generations. That's a sick dude right there. And you know what? There are people out there who think like that in all different sides. And all we can do is when we hear something like that, just say, whew, get them out of here. We don't need that nonsense. Oh, last one before we go to the break. And again, why is it always MSNBC News? Park ranger fired after helping drape a transgender pride flag over the Yosemite's El Capitan. And Yosemite National Park fired a park ranger last week for hanging a transgender pride flag on the park's iconic El Capitan rock formation in May. Shannon S.J. Jocelyn, who had been a ranger and a wildlife biologist at the park since 2021, said they were fired August 12th for what they described as their dream job. They said the park leadership told them they failed to demonstrate acceptable conduct. I'm sorry, but we don't need to have any of that stuff going on in our national parks. You're listening to the Andrew Gossip Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
You have reached WYAB 3.9 FM.
Hey, are you there?
This is an unmonitored answering machine. If you have a question of business concern,
hello,
please hang up and call 601-879-0093. Again, that number is 601.
Nope, we're in a commercial break.
So when do you go off the air? I'm not sure.
I go off the air in about 7 minutes.
Oh, well, it's too late to call. It's too late to call now anyway.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
we're going to be back from a commercial break in about 3-4 minutes. If you want to speak real quick, you can.
no, that's all right. We'll call back. I thought we got more time, but I wanted to ask you one question, real quick question. I caught part of your show.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what Andrew thinks about troops on the ground in Ukraine.
Oh, I don't want them.
Okay. Yeah, it would be a dumb idea to put troops on the ground in Ukraine. But listen, Donald Trump is not too intelligent. No, he's not. No. He's not an intellectual, that's for sure.
Would it be wise to put troops on the ground in Korea?
What'd you say? What is the question?
Troops on the ground in Korea.
In 1951?
Yeah,
that was a.
Isn't that the same? Isn't that the same thing that they might try to propose in Ukraine?
Oh no, Andrew, that's not even in the same league. A comparison. That's a bad analogy.
Oh, you don't. You might think that, but there are people out there who are making that analogy. What if they put the Great Britons in Ukraine? Is that okay?
Again, I'm having a hard time hearing you. What was the question again?
Great Britain, if they go to Ukraine, is that okay?
I don't care what Great Britain does.
So it would be fair to say that. Would it be fair to say that you don't want U.S. money and troops or resources going to Ukraine? Would you also say that you don't want U.S. troops, resources, and equipment going to Israel as well?
I would put troops on the ground in Israel. Sure, I would. No question.
Brother, give me a call back tomorrow, all right?
It is a travesty to allow what goes on. And if I'm president of the United States, I guarantee you, ain't nobody worried about getting shot in Israel. It's protected. And it's protected for Jews, it's protected for Muslims, and it's protected for whomever's there. It is safe zone.
Hey, brother, what's your name? Because I don't think we've ever talked before.
Yeah, we have. We talked. If you disagree with me, I'm running against Cindy for the United States Senate.
Okay. I remember. I just don't remember the name. I'm horrible with that. But brother, if you call back, I'll get you on the.
Ponto, Andrew. And again, I think, listen, I appreciate you, even though we disagree. And I appreciate you because it looks like you're about the only one checking its facts out and giving us content, which is what we need. So thank you.
Brother, I try, man. Get the word out for me. I appreciate it.
Even though we're going to disagree, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Absolutely.
You're trying. You're doing a good job.
Thank you, man. I'll talk to you next time.
God bless.
Bless. And you are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. I will not let you down. The 2 hours is just moving and grooving. And I'll tell you what, some days I'm like, man, this is going to be a show that is going to go down a certain path. And today it kind of veered all over the place. I'm really grateful and thankful to not only the texters I had, but I did have a couple people call in off the air. And we had some good conversations during the break. Always appreciate that. Always appreciate that. You know, we're sitting here talking about what we're going to be doing in the future. I think we're going to need to continue to watch on how America treats Ukraine and how they treat Israel, because I think you can make some real distinct correlations there. And I'd also say that you might try to see a replay of what's happening in Korea, where all of a sudden we put a base in Germany, we put a base in Korea, we put a base in Japan, all these places. I don't think we're going to put a base in Ukraine, but I would not be surprised if you saw allies from the West in Ukraine, whether that be the Germans or the Britons, the Italians, the French. That might be what ends up happening. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, and if I am, I'll come on here and say, hey, I'm definitely hitting it the wrong way. Oh, by the way, do you remember all the doomsday economic news? How they were trying to make us feel horrible. Well, I'm sitting here looking at the 5-day, and we're in the green. We were in the green up to about an hour ago, and then we headed down. But we're down 22 points today. We're sitting at 44,889.47. We are doing all right. And I realize that there's always going to be, it's almost like, even with my closest friends, it's always like, we're doing good, but what if this, what if that? And I think we should what if things, but I think we should also stop to smell the roses a little bit too, you know? Junk says that J6 folks would disagree with those perp walks. Those sucked. But again, those were political. And you know what? Again, no one's talking about those. When Adam Schiff gets perp walked, and I think he will, when Letitia James gets perp walked, and I think he will, that's going to be big news. And by the way, does everybody remember Donald Trump's perp walk in Atlanta, Georgia? How did that work out for everybody? It's almost, I don't want to say it's like, yeah, me too. I want it. They did this to me, so I'm going to get that to them. It's almost like class we were in last night talking about offense and forgiveness, and like, okay, they've done this. I'm not saying that they don't have to pay for their crimes and for the things that they did, but I don't want to dwell on that anger and that hate, because I've just watched too many good people end up not being able to focus on the here and now because they're so ticked off about what's going on in other places. And quite frankly, I'm not sure there's too many people within the sound of my voice who can actually control what happens inside the FBI with and the DOJ with what Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, and this new guy are going to do. I mean, think about this. We can't even get Trump's nominations confirmed into the government, and we're on 7 months. Now we're going to have another assistant FBI director try to get put in. It's going to be a long, hard slog. And I'm not like trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I think we need to focus on the stuff that we can have an impact on, especially here in Mississippi, in Jackson, Hinds County, and surrounding areas. And to the other stuff, hey, we sit there and we talk about it. We make sure we're well informed, and we can talk about it with our friends, families, and neighbors. But you know, that's just my opinion. And until tomorrow, 46 hours away, you're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB.